Good morning, everybody. Well, it's morning for me anyway. 7:45 here on Tuesday, 21st of October 2014, here in the mountains. Bright speaking. Today I'm going to make a brief video about the subject of ETs and healing. I've had a lot of people ask me over the years, how can I get healed by ETs? I'm really desperate, I need help. Can you ask the ETs to come and help me? And first I need to say, the people who write to me are often very desperate. And there's nothing wrong with that. I understand their desperation. Sometimes I guess they turn to me as a last resort, thinking that perhaps I can do some miracle. And that's very difficult because I can't, and I have my own health concern to deal with and my own life to live. But I'm always touched by these kind of requests from people, and unfortunately I can't always respond to them. I just have too much happening in my life. I can't afford the emotional connection to do this and to connect with people in that way. So I'll try and make a video now that addresses this issue. Just a little anyway. And hopefully it will give those of you who are looking for some answers enough to go by. So this morning I dedicate this particular video to George, who wrote me a very touching email. And hopefully, George, this will provide you with something to go on. Some of you will be aware that I've tried to avoid being in my videos for a while now. I just get sick of having my mugshot in them. So I'm going to film something far more beautiful. The sun's rising over the mountains, so we'll start with that. So where to start? Okay. Some of you know that I'm dealing with what other people would call carcinoid cancer. You also may be aware that I no longer see cancer as a reasonable description for the disease. I see them as tumours, and I see cancer as a thought form, an idea that we believe in. My journey has been long. I probably had at least one tumour for 25 years. I'm not sure how many tumours I currently have. Got up to about 8 at one point. Some shrunk and disappeared. I'm not sure whether the number is fewer than 4 or more than 4. Anyway, it's a gradual process. Healing is happening. And I think honestly there are two types of healing. There is instant healing and there is gradual healing. And I think I'm experiencing gradual healing. So some people have asked me, well, Bright, you claim to have contact with ETs, then how come they haven't healed you? So I've said this many times before, I guess I'll state it again so people can hear it and hopefully hear it properly. I have had healing from ETs, different groups, particularly the Telia. That certainly seems to be one of their specialties, but many of the ETs are involved in healing. And I've asked for healing in terms of my tumours. And the sense that I have from the responses that have been given, and I guess this is where I'm at with that now, and I'm okay with that. Early on I asked for help. The sense I have now is that these tumours are an integral part of the development of my life, and they're helping me to develop spiritually. And the ETs don't want to take away that opportunity. They don't want to remove the one thing that will help me to develop more as a person than anything else. And they recognise that the experience of having these tumours is a catalyst of sorts. Why would they take that away? Why would they take away the one thing that helps me to grow the quickest? So they're not doing that, but they do monitor my health. Whenever I have visits, I have a whole scan. I have a medical checkup, if you like. They frequently, usually it's the tilia, but not always, they frequently put their hands on me, and they'll show me often what's happening in my body, what's happening with the tumours, and then months later when I have my scans and see my oncologist, the same thing will be confirmed. So they are there to monitor and assess and give me feedback on how things are going, and they often encourage me to follow the advice that's been given to me, be it from other ETs or a particular guide, a Chinese man who was a long time ago called Garlick. And they worked with him when he was alive, and they taught him a great deal. He was a great healer. So I receive the support I need from them. I'm also in regular contact with them, so I get to talk to them about the experience of having these tumours and dealing with the pain that sometimes arises and the side effects. There's also a thing called carcinoid syndrome that comes with it. And I see this illness, if you like. It's an illness on many different levels. You're trying to heal the emotions. You're trying to heal the mind. The spirit is pure, but the way that it expresses itself is through all these obstacles, all these filters, these things that have got in the way. And so you're trying to heal that as well. And all of this is an attempt to heal the body, if you like. So multiple illnesses at once to heal. And so that's the kind of experience that they're giving me. They're helping me to wake up to that. It's not always easy dealing with the experience of having this particular set of tumours. It can be very painful. I lost a kidney, and dealing with my kidney is very difficult. And also, because I lost a kidney and the tumours are pressing against my spine, it can be very, very uncomfortable at times, particularly when there are certain things that trigger secretions from my tumours secrete hormones. So when the hormones are secreted, I get all kinds of other pain. But pain is just pain. How we respond to pain is what's critical. We have a choice as to whether we suffer or not. Well, I suffer when I allow my pain to really affect me, when I allow my pain to change my mood, and I get pretty shitty sometimes. And one of the things that happens with this disease is another symptom called anger dysregulation. You can't regulate your anger. Now, I used to teach people how to deal with their anger and their emotions, so it's kind of ironic for me, and I've practiced mindfulness for a long time. But when I get angry, it's almost impossible for me to control it because of this physical feedback loop, if you like, where my hormones are kind of out of whack, and I get these extra boosts of hormones, and it all goes a bit crazy. But look, that's not what I'm trying to say. I guess the other thing I'm trying to say about that is, in terms of my particular disease, the fact that I happen to have this disease that allows me to now get angry and feel is really important. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think you kind of, your diseases reflect the needs of the soul, the needs of the spirit. I could talk about those definitions, but for now we'll just use them as the same term. And so for me, I was Mr. Nice Guy, and I didn't allow myself to feel everything. I'm going to try and sit down on the ground here. It's pretty wet, but it's a bit hard holding this camera with one hand. It's a bit cold, it's 6 degrees. We've got a warm day coming, about 30 degrees. So for me, learning how to feel again has been really, really important, learning how to feel everything. Anger is seen as a kind of negative emotion in our society, but actually anger is reasonable. It's what we do with anger that's the real problem. So I've been learning how to handle the experience of anger and the frustration that leads to anger. And I think it's more than reasonable that there is a real connection between why I have this particular disease that allows me to experience certain emotional states and how I was suffering before. So the first thing I'd like to say is to anybody who has a physical illness, if you can, try to look at the emotional state leading up to the diagnosis of your illness, and try and look at the emotional state that you experience with your illness. See if you can see a connection. I guess in my mind is the belief that some people have tried to debunk that there is an emotional root cause. There are root causes, if you like, for all diseases, and I think for the most part we can say that most of them are emotional in origin. Of course, there are other things that are physical defects. Perhaps we can go further back and say they had emotional root causes too. I'm not sure. For now, let's just say that many diseases have emotional root causes, so it's important to try and unearth that root cause. Set yourself on a path of discovery to try and understand what your disease is all about. So some people will have had their diseases and gone through surgery, or in the case of cancer, chemotherapy and the like. And so you're desperate and you look for some help. Now, in numerous of the email messages that people have sent to me, people have said that they've prayed to God for help. And now they turn into the ETs. And sometimes they pray to God to send the ETs, and sometimes they just pray to God, sometimes they just pray to the ETs. I'd like to say a few things about that. Some of you will be aware of the ET that I publicly call Dude. His race has been involved in our planet for a long time, and Dude himself is over 8,000 years old. And he's told me that much of his early work on Earth was involved in working with shaman and healers on the planet who would frequently pray to different gods, different spirits, and he and his people would respond, and they would be involved in collecting berries and plants, and working with them in visions and dreams and other altered states. And sometimes they would have a direct face-to-face relationship, and other times, I guess if you like, they would affect or perform miracles. And I guess the sense I have from Dude is sometimes he found that work frustrating, and sometimes he was very happy to do it. It depended on the individual that he was trying to help. So I think that a point is important to remember when it comes to your own needs, if you like, and what you're after from the ETs. If you have a pure intention and your needs are significant, and you have a pure heart, then I think that the ETs will respond. So I guess just to summarise that, people often pray, and they pray for help from God or from others, and the ETs hear these prayers and they sometimes respond. I guess just a few things I should say about that. Many of the ETs who understand that they are God incarnate, that God takes all of these infinite forms, I guess sense that as a direct request to them. That's one thing. And the other thing is that just as it's important for us to understand the nature of our diseases, the ETs, the ones who are particularly interested in humans, they know us pretty damn well. They know what's in our heart, what's in our soul. And some of them, like the Telia, even know the passage of the soul from beginning to end across all the different, whatever metaphor you want to use, timelines or so on. So they can see all that we have been and all that we will be. They see us outside of time, if you like. And they understand, many of these ETs, the role that a particular disease has in our development as individuals in this life or in other lives. They may understand the ongoing patterns that have occurred. So in my own example, they know well and truly the role that this particular disease is playing in shaping who I am as a person and how I'm learning to express myself and really peel away the masks and the layers and all the gunk that sort of obscured the soul. And really, in a sense, a disease is a cry from the soul. It's the body saying no more, the soul saying no more. I'm listening to the soul and you're not listening to me, the mind is not listening. So it's important to try and understand what are the connections there. Because the ETs, they will look at us and they will understand the role and the significance that this disease is playing in our life. So as desperate as we might be, it's important to try and understand, what is this disease trying to teach me? Some people, for example, have said that cancer is a wisdom disease, and for anybody who's been through it and truly woken up, it is a wisdom disease. But I think every disease is essentially a wisdom disease. What is my disease? What is my illness trying to teach me? In terms of disease, what is the discomfort? What is it that I'm not comfortable with, that it's trying to wake me up to? Even if you have some physical ailment and you can't see an emotional connection, at least try to understand that. So, those two things, the ETs do recognise that they are God incarnate, just as we are, just as everything is, and they'll understand the role that particular disease might play in our life. So once you've got basic understanding, of course, that's a gradual process, so you don't feel that you have to do that before you make contact with the ETs. Once you've got that, you can then attempt to reach out to the ETs. Now, I can't speak for them. I can't tell you that they will respond to every single person, because the reality is they might not, and there might be good reasons for that. But where they can, they will respond, and they'll respond if they feel that it's in your best possible interest. I don't think they'll respond if they see that responding will hinder your own development. I don't see that they would do that. If they felt that it was in your best interest in the long term, and that you'd be a wiser person for it, and the development of your soul would be enriched, then I think they'll respond. They don't see death the way that we do, so knowing that you will die is not necessarily a bad thing for them. It's just another part of the journey for the soul. So we have to understand, I guess, what in many ways is an alien perspective, first of all. If we can understand that and see that truly, then I think we have a good sense of why the ETs may or may not act. Look at that big boy there. They often stand up and they stretch on their tails and they get involved in these really ferocious fights sometimes. But much of the time they're play fighting as well. Sometimes those displays are all about bravo and marking territory and such. We've got another male at the back here. So first male might just be letting him know I'm boss. So, what to do? How to make contact? Oh, there's another one going for it down the bottom. Bit of attempted hanky-panky there. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, I'm lucky I get to come here every day and watch this sort of stuff. These crazy kangaroos. So how do we make contact when we'd like to ask ETs to help us with healing? Well, it's essentially the same as any other form of contact, and I'll give you a basic method here that I feel works under any conditions. So the first thing is to understand something of yourself. Even if you just take an hour to think about the things that I've said. And then you want to know why you want to have contact with the ETs. Ask yourself, why do I want to have contact with ETs? And you really want to understand that. You don't want to bullshit yourself. You want to strip away all the rubbish and get to the core of it. What is it all really about? Am I afraid of dying? Am I afraid of suffering? Am I afraid of pain? Am I afraid of leaving behind others? Am I afraid of others being hurt by what's happening to me? There's all kinds of truths that we conceal from ourselves, and it's important to try and understand them. Oh, a bit of fisticuff. I'm sorry, we got some serious distractions going on here. But I'm sure you'll appreciate them. Just after 8 AM and it's boxing time. I hope that's not shaking too much, but I can't keep any steadier than that. I got the morning shakes. That's one of those symptoms, side effects that I was talking about. When you've spent a lot of time studying kangaroos, as I have, you figure out pretty quickly that they're really weird. But they're pretty cool too. Anyway, enough of that. So, you've understood why you want to have contact. Then what you need to do is decide, how am I going to have contact? Am I going to go out in the field, out somewhere at night time, daytime? Am I going to do it in my home? Let's assume that we're talking about external contact for now. I'll talk about internal contact after. And then once you've done that, decide to make the time to go out and have contact. And when you're out there, once again, ask yourself, why do I want to have contact? And if it's related to healing, be very specific with yourself about why do I want help with healing? And allow yourself to feel that deeply. And then simply put out a request, word it however you like. It's got to suit you personally. That you wish to have contact with an extraterrestrial race, and you wish to have contact with beings who will help you in your healing, and then you tell them the reasons why, the specific reasons why you want help with healing. And as you're doing that, you feel what you felt before. You feel deeply in your heart the reasons that you want contact and why you want healing. And then just let go. Continue to allow yourself to feel that. Allow yourself to feel that as deeply as possible, and let go of all expectation. And just see what happens. You may have the experience of seeing some lights in the sky, some blinkers or some other form of light. You might even see a craft up close. You may be fortunate enough to have ETs come down to the ground or take you on board a craft, or they might choose to interact with you at a later date. Once you've initiated it, can happen at any time afterwards. So pay careful attention to your dreams and careful attention to time. You'll often notice when you have these kinds of experiences that there are anomalies in time. Sometimes time is lost, sometimes time seems to have been gained. So you may well have an interaction with them and be unaware of it. Or you might have a conscious interaction. It's very difficult to remain conscious without getting sick. So ask for help as well when you make that request in staying conscious, if that's what you wish. And then once you've dropped your expectation and you let go and you open yourself up to the entire process, it's important to make sure that you drop expectation from that point onwards. Don't allow expectation to hijack the experience and how you're feeling. If you do, then you'll have blown the whole thing. You'll sabotage it from an internal point of view, that you've set up the wrong emotional state for the experience. So if you can, just work with that whole expectation and control thing. And I've written about that on my blog, etandI.wordpress.com. So that's external contact. That's essentially, I'm in this physical world and I want to have a physical encounter with a being, and a being to come and physically heal me. But there are other kinds of ET contact, and I've written about them on my blog. If you go to etandI.wordpress.com, I've written about the internal world's method of contact. And I had previously put together a bit of an audio for one of my Facebook groups, just a small group of people I've been working with. And you can listen to that audio, and it talks about how to create an internal world. If you like, how to create that internal world with other races, with other beings. And so if you're open to that possibility, you can go inwards within your mind and co-create a world in which the ETs can come and visit you. And the kinds of healings that you can have in that context, in that situation, are just as profound, just as significant as would happen in the external environment. So don't be afraid to try something completely different. And if you work with that, you'll discover that the kind of healing you can have can be just as real as the kind of healing you'd have if it was face to face. So I think that's probably all I have to say about that for now. I just don't have a lot of time to address this issue, but I can appreciate that people feel so so desperate in their lives that they'll do anything to try and find help. But maybe also that some people have thought that ETs might be a really good way to get help, and have come across some of my videos and on my blog and realise that there are benevolent beings out there in the universe that do care about us. So I'd like to say to you, there really are benevolent beings that care about us, and I'll just reiterate a point that I keep trying to make, that there are no hostile ETs travelling in space. It's not allowed. People keep quoting, as above, so below. Well, that might be fine on Earth, but that's not necessarily the way that the universe works. There are beings who are so highly evolved, beings I call the creator races, who keep it in their best interest and the best interests of the entire cosmos, if you like, to keep peace. So unless you've evolved, you don't get off planet. Unless you've learnt to deal with hostility, you're not allowed off planet. You're not allowed in space. You're not allowed to become a spacefaring race, if you like. So don't worry about being abducted by nasty aliens who are going to anal probe you and chop you up and mutilate you, and evil reptilians who are going to do all kinds of crazy stuff, and training to fight wars in underground supermarket car parks and all the weird shit that I've heard. It ain't real. It's people's projections. It's archetypal projections. It's military abductions. It's not real. The universe is teeming with life, and teeming with peaceful life that cares immensely. So it's up to you to have a show of faith that there are these good beings in the universe that care about us. So go through, I know this has ended up being a bit more long-winded than I thought it would be. Go through the process of what I've described about how to make contact, about understanding yourself, and have patience. Patience really is a virtue. Things will happen when they really need to happen. And if you don't have the kinds of healing that you would like, or interaction you would like, know that there is a good reason for that. It doesn't mean that they don't care, and it doesn't mean they're not interacting with you in some way. Maybe it's in your best interest to learn from this disease, to fully experience this disease, and that might even mean that you die. That doesn't mean that you're not loved, because you are. It just means that this particular part of the journey, the full experience of the disease, is necessary. And if you do have healing, then certainly show as much gratitude as you can. And that's the one thing I missed in terms of making contact. Try to show gratitude. I don't think the ETs feel they need it. It's as much for us as anything. But it's nice to show gratitude and to really show that you appreciate the effort that others have made. I guess YouTube is going to tell me I've got a shaky video. It's true. I had a bad case of shakeitis. I just made that up, I don't know if that's real. Anyway, I'm going home. It's Aaron. So this is a typical spring morning in the mountains. Cold, sunny, full of kangaroos, birdsong, beautiful. Take care, friends, wherever you are in the world, and I wish you all the best in your healing and in your ET contacts. Take care for now. Bye.